You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. If you trade options, you want to be smart about every decision. So why not choose the smartest platform for your trades? At Public.com, you can view upcoming earnings dates directly in the options chain. You can queue and execute multiple orders simultaneously. Easily view contract performance over time. And if you have a question about any stock, you can ask Alpha, their AI for investors. But want to know the smartest part of trading options on Public? Earning rebates on every single contract traded. No other platform provides options trading rebates, and they reduce your trading costs to less than $0 per trade. So, make the smart move and switch to Public.com, the only options trading platform where you can earn rebates on every single contract traded. Paid for by Public Investing. Options not suitable for all investors and carry significant risk. Full disclosures in podcast description. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means it is Monday. It is time to commence another broadcast week here on the old network. Hope you had a good weekend. Hope you're ready to sink your teeth into some wild and woolly trading, because we got another week of content bonanza on the docket for you. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com. Reminding you, if you want to join us for all the fun, including awesome pro Q&As, another good one coming up tomorrow. Options oddities at the end of the week. By the way, for all of our pro members listening, I did close out those next calls at the end of the show. We wanted April as opposed to March. I didn't really love the March, so I was able to scalp them for a little bit, actually. So I'm out of those. And then Matt sent me a note right before the show. He's already exited the Capri calls, so somebody clearly had a little bit of early notice on those, because those are a 3Xer already this morning. So wild stuff. Check the full show for the exact entry that Matt had on those Capris and everything else. And if you want to join us on the Pro, you want to get access to Oddity. Oddities have been wild lately. I'm just putting it out there. It's been a fun time. It's all a fun time. Oddities has been extra spicy. Head on over to the Pro. Theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. That'll also get your name in the hat for the March Pro Trading Crate, because guess what? You're too late for February. That's going to go out the door in a few minutes as I welcome on the folks who are going to help me do just that. First, we go out to the quiet hamlet known as St. Charles. We are joined once again by the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management. Uncle Mike, welcome back to the show, sir.
Always a pleasure on a Monday.
It is always a pleasure on a Monday. And we are also joined on the Monday show by a rare, in fact, I might say unprecedented Monday appearance by the black-hatted one himself, Mr. Dan Passarelli, moonlighting from his appearances on OBC, coming along to slum it on a little option block. Mr. P, welcome to the Monday show, sir.
I know this is definitely a rare appearance for me on a Monday. But hey, here we are.
I hope you put on your trivia pants, sir. And I hope they warned you. Because it's time for a little bit of 80s trivia to kick off our broadcast week. Here we go. All right, listen, I should have known. The Rock Lobster bugs me, and he bugs me, and he bugs me for over a year to make the segment completely impartial and go the way of the 80s Trivial Pursuit edition. So no sooner do we do that, no small amount of hassle and expense to acquire an official 80s trip, not the looking back at the 80s, one that was produced in the 80s. The blue box, all that fun. We have our first series of questions last week. And then the Rock Lobster, he flees in terror from the Monday show. Can't make it on today. I should have known. It was a little bit too much for him. So another example of careful what you wish for. So no points for him. But Dan bravely, some might say foolishly, diving into the void this week. Dan, since no one warned you, I will give you the pride of place, sir. You get to choose our category for this week, our color. Remember the colors in 80s Trivial Pursuit, Dan, were orange, they were orange, which is sports and leisure. There was green, which is kind of the science and nature. There's brown, which is arts and literature. There's yellow, which is history. There's pink, which is entertainment, their pop culture. And blue, which is geography. So, Dan, you get to choose our color for this week. Which way are we going?
I think I'm going pink. Let's do it.
Oh, you're a pinky Tuscadero. All right, here we go. This one actually surprisingly straightforward. Now, remember, these were all written in the 80s, but they're not specifically about the 80s. They could be from much earlier, obviously.
Now, real quick, the rules are you type in the word buzz and then you click enter on your Skype thing, so that way it's fair.
So it's very fair.
Oh,
so you have to, the person who says buzz first gets to answer. So type buzz, get your hand on the buzzer, get ready. All right, here we go. And then if you acquire points, it's just more points that the Rock Lobster can't have. So there you go. Nana boo boo to you, but you'll also be helping him by keeping a point away from Uncle Mike. So who also, I should point out, is still your nemesis from our election night special back in 2020. So you have a vested interest in sticking it to Uncle Mike as well. All right, here we go. Ready? All right, the pink category for this week, listeners, get your hands on your own buzzers at home. It's a pretty straightforward one, actually. Who directed Spartacus? I am Spartacus. No, I am Spartacus. No, I am Spartacus. Remember that movie? Old timer. I'm guessing by the lack of buzzes that no one, you remember that movie? Kirk Douglas? At the end, they're all strung up at the end, and it's like, I am Spartacus. No, I am Spartacus. Tony Curtis, come on. Yeah. Famous scene from like 60s Hollywood. Nobody? All right, I will give you both a hint. Because I knew this one before I even flipped the card over, I'm proud to say. This person,
well, you're a big fan of Gladiator.
I do like a good Gladiator movie, that is true. So I will say this director, a very famous director, also directed, let's see, what's a fun one you folks will know? That is not too easy. He also directed 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Oh.
There you go. You got it?
I think.
All right, go for it.
Wait, was that Stanley Kubrick?
It was Stanley Kubrick, yes. He directed Spartacus as well. So there you go, Dan. Better late than never. 1 point.
I didn't know he directed Spartacus.
Yeah, that was one of his early ones for Spartacus. There you go. You know, Rock Lobster might have actually had a chance at that one. He likes a good old movie. So there you go. Nana boo boo to him. And a point for you, Mr. Dan. Congratulations. Coming out hot out of the gate on the Monday show. And you know what, Dan, really quickly, because you are the victor of your first ever 80s Trivia Challenge, so congratulations to you. You get the extra special honor of it is the first trading day of March. We get to pick the February Pro Trading Crate winner. So Dan, the random number generator is going. You can tell me to stop now. You can tell me to stop later. Just let me know. I'll go into the next segment if you want to keep rolling. So if you want to keep the suspense going. But you get to pick our winner. So tell me when you're ready.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop.
All right. There you go. You have stopped it. And who did we get here? Oh, we've got not Joe Frazier, not Smoking Joe Frazier, but Joe Louis. Joe Lewis, a pro member here for a bit. Congratulations, Mr. Lewis. You are the winner of the February Pro Trading Crate, the much heralded, much wanted, much desired. Again, I've said it before, your options trading career is not complete until you've gone home with at least one of these bad boys. And if you're a pro member, you get your name in the hat every month. You can win. Some folks have won multiples. So get on over to the pro listeners. Mr. Lewis, congratulations to you. Our producers will reach out post haste as we keep on rolling right on into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the trading block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the trading block, the portion of the show where we break down what the heck is trading. See, it's not all Spartacus all the time, even though that would be fun. But we got another spicy one on our hands, listeners. In fact, if we wait a few minutes, we might be back below the 5,900. If this song and dance sounds kind of familiar, it's because we've been doing it a little bit now. We start off aggressively in one direction, then we move aggressively in the other direction by the end of the day. On the Thursday show, we saw some whipsaw action. Friday, we were looking pretty dire, and then as we were doing the Vol View show, and then, of course, Thursday, we were looking good, then we fell out of bed aggressively. Almost as soon as we turned off the mics on the Thursday show, the market just fell completely out of bed. Friday, we, of course, saw kind of dillying around the red for a lot of the day, then an aggressive rally at the end of the day, seemingly to wipe out a lot of the losses from the last few sessions. And then today, we kind of started out pretty hot as well. We got up, we were not quite 6K, but threatening it. Got up to around, it looks like the 5970s, 5978 actually looks like. So we were threatening 6K again. Looks like we were going to start off the week green and then pow. Just falling out of bed, listeners. 5,903 now. We are threatening to break 5,900 in the wrong direction. Uncle Mike, cover your ears. So S&P off 50 handles now, about 0.85%. Dow off about 0.2%. NASDAQ off 1.4%. VIX cash, as we kicked off the show, was at 20.25. That puts it up 1.25 points. As we're talking right now, it is at 2060. So getting frothy as well. So that puts it up about 1.6 points from where it was this time last week. So Vol, looking spicy, looking frothy. VVIX was at a 108 as we kicked off the show. I wonder if I re-racked it right now, listeners, about 108.5. So still pretty close to that level. But again, anything north of the par level is looking pretty spicy. And Dan, as our winner of our trivia contest for this week, the prizes keep coming to you. Not only do you get to pick the winner of our February Pro Trading Crate, again, congratulations to Joe Lewis, but also you get to go first. What's catching your eye? We've had a lot of whipsaws of late, last week and this week. So if you want to go a little bit back as well to talk about last week, have at it, because you've never been on the Monday show before. What's catching your eye in a very whipsaw-y market, sir?
You know, Carnival Cruise Lines just had like a metric crap ton of the regular March expiration 25-28 call credit spreads trade. And I want to say it's about 10,000 of them traded this morning. And that was the fill that you just heard jingling over here.
You bought 10,000 of them, sir? That's small size for you.
No. I set up these scans. This one is Credit Spread Genius, and it scans for big credit spreads made by professional traders. And so I looked at this one and I kind of like it. They're restructuring some debt. I mean, I don't know. We do have resistance at that $25 range, which it is not going to be. We don't want it to go above that until March 21st, which is like 18 days away. So, I mean, it's not like a shoe-in or anything. It's definitely going to require some management on my part and whoever the pro trader is who made this trade. But it's kind of an interesting one. You know, we do have the 50-day moving average providing additional resistance at 25.43, which is basically my break even on it. We have the 21-day moving average moving below or just about to move below the 50-day moving average. I think tomorrow it'll be official. But just that massive size, I mean, goodness gracious.
Interesting. I might make the good subject for a flash poll. In fact, I think we will put that out to our audience and see if you like that, listeners. It was the March 25-28 call spread going up quite a few times, but a big block of 7,450 to kick things off. Looks like they've done nearly 12,000 now on the day for prices around 52 cents. That price, are you a buyer? Are you a seller? We'll find out what our audience has to say. Outside of that spread, Mr. Dan, what else is catching your eye in an overall market and indeed volatility perspective, sir?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, overall market, I'll tell you, one of the things that I like about my current role in the options industry is I get to talk to a whole lot of smart people on a pretty much daily basis as far as options goes. And, you know, like a month ago, just about all of them were saying, man, I think that there's going to be a pullback. And so, you know, we've got that, and closing below the 50-day moving average for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row. You know, I mean, it's significant. It's significant. We that tends to act as resistance now. It was support, but now it's resistance. And of course, you know, that VIX just kind of creeping up there. One of my daily videos was on, about a month ago, was on the low VIX and just how straddles tend to work out. Oh, yeah, I think we talked about that on a show about 3 weeks ago. Unfortunately, I didn't trade my own trade on that one. So missed that, but I don't know. I mean, could there still be some room for straddles? I mean, I always like to go out about a month. I mean, if we look at the we don't need 45 days. The 32-day straddle, you could buy that for 24 or 20, just call it $25. I mean, $25. Hold on a second. 25 divided by, I always take out my little 1980s calculator. 589.6-ish. Geez Louise, man, that's a 4% move. Is there anybody who in 32 days? Hold on a second. And I was just looking at this for reference. I wasn't thinking this was going to be some fantastic trade idea or something, but it's kind of interesting. The April 4th expiration, the 32-day spiders, buy that for under $25. That's about a little over a 4% move in spiders. God, is there anybody who thinks we're not going to be more than 4% away from here in 32 days? Jeez Louise.
You just killed it. Now we're going to sit here for the next couple of weeks there, Mr. Dan.
Time to put on your iron condors.
Speaking of which, I did scoop some VIX puts at the low this morning. So, of course, we're going to explode now in VIX. Yeah. And so anyone, that's just my warning to all of you listeners out there. If you want to take the other side of me, by all means, go load up on VIX Upside. Now is the time. Speaking of our audience, Dan, we put out our flash poll to them on your Carnival Cruise Lines call spread. For 52 cents, so they want to buy it or sell it or not interested. And our audience, helpful as always, 33% want to buy it, 33% want to sell it, 33% not interested. So they are of no use whatsoever. So we will come back. It's only been live for a couple of minutes. I'm teasing you folks. Of course, you're useful. But get over there at Options and make your voice heard. Help us determine whether we like this vertical or not. All right, Mr. Uncle Mike, you've been in timeout for a little bit as a result of your horrific losing, not even buzzing in for the trivia contest until the very end, but it was too late at that point. But Uncle Mike, sir, what's catching your eye? It's got to be a tough couple of days for you. Well, you were probably happy at the end of Friday because your little Facebook cabal got back together and you bought the market back up again, almost 6,000. And you might have been excited today. You might have thought that momentum was carrying over. And yet once again, the whipsaw bug coming to bite you right now as we speak. So if you want to, shed a tear a bit during the show, I'll understand. But what is catching your eye out there these days, sir?
I shed no tears when we were like 3 or 4% off of all-time highs. So this is really what a time to be a day trader these last couple of weeks. Not that I am one, but good gosh. We're getting a lot of intraday movement. We have over 80 points of intraday movement in the S&P today. And if you set tight stops and you're good at picking lows and highs during the intraday, then you're in a really good spot recently. So we are getting a lot of movement intraday. This is not so much a gappy market, although we did gap up a little bit today. Not a ton, but we're really getting a lot of movement during the day, which is the main thing with which I'm seeing right now. And the other thing that I'm seeing is that there are stocks that are up in this market, like there are in any down market, but we're getting more of a move, it looks like, away from in general, the AI type stocks as of right now, in that NVIDIA, of course, down over 7% on the day. And a lot of the other AI stocks are following in that direction. And so from there, we are getting some upward movement in some other things that aren't necessarily AI, if you will. Gold's rallying a little bit today. I know that's not a stock, but of course it is rallying. We are getting stability in the bond market. And then a couple stocks that actually are up on the day. We got Chubb is up a little bit today, an insurance company. These are just some names with which I'm watching. And we have things that are going up, but not as much as the stocks that are going down at this stage. So I think we could be just rebalancing in some ways. And when you rebalance and you take money out of the stocks that are making up a big chunk of the market itself, that leads to a down day. And that's kind of where we are right now. And that's what I'm seeing.
All right, listeners, let's see what we're seeing out here in the rest of the market. Is it a spicy kickoff to the week from an overall options volume perspective? It's in the major indexes. It is definitely more than respectable. It is a pretty hot start to the week. In the single names, well, we'll get there. We'll get there in a little bit. What's going on out there in VIX today? Right now, 457,000 contracts on the tape. So it may not sound like a lot, and it's not lighting the world on fire, but the ADV is only 803, so more than halfway there. What is the big dog out there in VIX today? Looks like it's the April 20s. Our old pal, the April 20s out there, listeners, going up 61,000 times. Number 2, we have 60,000 of the March 23. So maybe we have a bit of a roll. They didn't go up. No, they didn't go up as a spread. The March 23s looks like somebody's bailing on those to the tune of 96 cents for those, about 54,000 times. And we have someone buying a few hours later, April 20s, 43,000 times for 236. So interesting stuff afoot out there. Was another leg to that April. Usually the April, it's the April 19 half puts versus the 20 calls. So we got that little funky collar. In this case, looks like more of a bullish risk reversal, doing it 1 by 2, selling the April 19 half puts for 257 and buying the 20s on a 2 by 1 for 236. So you like that, listeners? Selling the April 19 half puts for about almost 260, buying the April 20s on a ratio 2 by 1 for 236. That means somebody's looking for a little bit of upside, or they could be bailing too. That could be, but no, it looks like the 19 half puts are indeed opening. So interesting stuff afoot out here. Oh, you know what? That's part of that synthetic again. I see the other leg of that now. The April 19 half calls as well. So we got that synthetic going up, buying call, selling put, and then we have the call kicker. That makes more sense. That's kind of what they've been up to of late. And in this case, it's only the 20 calls though. So it's a funky one out there, but we've seen a little bit of that funk. But nonetheless, that is contributing to a lot of the paper we're seeing out there today. VIX 457 on the tape right now. SPY though. SPY running away with it right now. 6.35 million contracts on the tape. That is actually exactly 2 million contracts more than we expect this time of the show. So that's a spicy day. Let's look really quickly just for fun. Yep, 20 for 20 in SPY, all 0-day, all going out today. The big dog, 237,000 of the 595 calls. So we got to get our butts in gear. By the way, we have broken through 5,900 now. 589, I should say, are in the SPY, or 5893 right now. So yeah, look out below here. SPY on fire today. Is the S doing similar business? The answer is yes. 1.95 million contracts on the tape. By the way, the ADV in SPY, 8.5 million. The ADV in the S, 3.5 million. Already almost at 2 million. Same deal in the S. Yep, 20 for 20. All 0-day, all the time. The big dog, the March, again, expiring today. The pars, the 6,000s. 60,000 of those have traded today. My goodness. If that's the case, listeners, if you're buying those bad boys, you better hope we get our button gear. Yeah, somebody paid 79 cents for those this morning. Ooh, they even traded 294 at when we were close to 59.5, about 59.45. So these things have been all over the place. Man, if you were buying those, looks like they override the nearly $3 kind. So good for them. But if you were paying anything for those right now, those are looking pretty rough out there. But again, the day is young. We could whipsaw. What's 100 handles in the S&P amongst friends, listeners? Right now, the S, nearly 2 million contracts. Small cap saying, don't forget about me, 763 on the tape. The ADV about 1.4 million. And the Qs also looking spicy. Also, I should say, about exactly 1 million contracts more than we expect this time of the show. 3.25 million, that gets you, again, almost all the way to our ADV of 4.25 million. Might be there by the end of the show. So a spicy day in the NASDAQ as well. Let's get out now to the single names. Is it a super spicy single name day? The answer is no. 261, that's respectable. That's a kind of about, I would say, average. I would say around 250,000 is kind of average to break into the top 10. So 261 is respectable. I'm actually going to extend it really quickly, go to top 11 today, because it's not the most explosive day on the single name front. This gets us to our old pal Robinhood. I just added them in because we haven't talked about them in a long time. Hood, 49 even right now, off $1.10. They've had a rough month. They're off about 6.33%, and of course, off of their highs that they hit mid-February, 65.25. They actually hit 66.08 intraday. So Hood taking it on the chin. This is another name, kind of like Palantir, not quite as lofty, obviously, but another one where we were getting run over selling 10 puts in this name not that long ago. Now here they are. They were at 65, coming back to 48. So if you've been intrigued by Robinhood, maybe this is your happy time out here. Maybe you want it to run down even more. Either way, Hood coming back down here. Let's see, year to date. Robinhood's still up, though. Year to date, they're still up almost 10 handles, 9.25. So they were at 39.44 kicking off the year. So if you want to get back to break even on the year, they got a little ways to go. But either way, coming back off that lofty run, they went from 39 to 66 bucks. They had a good year going until recently. Number 11, Hood. Now let's get out to our official now. Number 10. Where we normally kick it off. It's AMD, 261, 99.75, off about a dime today. So AMD, not feeling the love. Number 10, 261 on the tape. Number 9, if you want to have more discussion about that, come back for a little bit in the crypto rundown. Man, Trump setting the crypto world aflame, abuzz over the weekend with talk of the strategic crypto reserve. We'll get to all that fun coming up in a little bit with special guest Uncle Mike. I'm just kidding. I would never do that to him. A good pal, Mr. Bill, over there joining us on the crypto rundown in a little bit. We'll talk about Mara, other things. 1408 for Mara, up 16 cents. I've been saying for a while on that show, this has been one of the best range-bound plays going for the last couple of years. On the lower, actually below the lower end of that range right now, 1408. Good for number 9, 263 on the tape for Mara. Number 8, Super Micro Computer. Once again, not looking so super, but looking more micro. 3788, off about 358, or nearly 9% today. So they are coming for this one. Even still, listeners, over the last month, it's still up 40.5%, even with this sell-off, but it is well below its high of 60.25 that is set this past month. Obviously, 52-week high is 122, nowhere near that either. But February 19th, it hit 60.25, now it's down to 37.72. So yeah, coming back down the other side. Number 8, SMCI, 316 on the tape. Number 7, if you like A-Tech names, we got them for you. Not just AMD, but number 7, the Amazonians, 327, 207 and a third, off exactly $5 or about 2.3%. Again, good for number 7, Amazon. And again, If you want more A-tech names, you come to the right place. Number 6, the Fruit Company, 416 on the tape for Apple, 241, pretty much even, off about 80 cents today, or about 1/3%. People have been watching Apple for a while, kind of wondering what's up with it. Is it going to survive this meltdown that's kind of happening with some of the other Magnificent Seven? Apple seems to be performing the best of the bunch right now, but we shall see. Giving a little bit back today. Number 6, the Fruit Company, 416 on the tape. Number 5, the Monster, looking a little bit monstrous again today. But man, 40 handle range on the day for the Monster here. My goodness. Oh, this is, of course, on the back of all that fun out there in the Bitcoin reserve. Man, they really liked it for a minute. MicroStrategy, aka the Monster, listeners, closed at 257 even on Friday. Kicked off the day today, 295.10. Right now, 253.39. So over a $40 range just today. All of that downside. My goodness. What a wild weekend, 48 hours this one's had. Holy goodness. Wow. So net, we're only down about $3 from where we closed on Friday, but did a lot of living in between. Another example that there is literal weekend risk these days, especially in the crypto space. So you might want to have something in your back pocket for those types of plays. Number 5, the Monster, 481 on the tape. My goodness, shedding 40 handles already just on the day. Wow. Number 4, Intel. Unched right now. It's had a range of 23.67 on the downside, 25.04 on the upside, 23 3/4 right now. So kind of hanging out at the low end of its range. Good for number 4, 507 on the tape. This one's been popping up on our radar a lot of late. Seen a lot of interesting and unusual activity out there, as well as folks are specking around that potential takeover out there. Not happening today, apparently. Number 4, Intel. Number 3, Palantir, 538, 86.20, up about $1.30 almost today. It's had a range of 90.5 to the upside, 85.78 to the downside, trading 86.08 right now, so up about 30 cents from its low. But yeah, quite the run this one's been on over the past month. You don't need me to tell you, listeners. Where it is right now, it is kind of almost unched. In fact, this morning it was unched on the month after this crazy run up to 124.62 on the 18th. My goodness. Number 3, Palantir, 538. Number 2 and number 1, you can probably guess what they are, and they're back in their usual order. Tesla, number 2, 1.6 million. They continue to lean on this one. It got back over 300 today, listeners. Let's see, where do we close on Friday? We closed on Friday, 294.40. Got back to 300 even, so people were saying, oh, Tesla back over 300. But it was not to be, listeners, giving it back up. Sold off to about 284 3/4, hanging out right now 287.35, off about 763 or 2.6%. So far this year, not been the best for the Musk holdings. Tesla in particular, off about 1/3 of its value this year, and certainly from its highs of 428, off even more than that. It's been a rough go out there. You get embroiled in some heated political stuff, that's going to happen. Obviously, it also would help to maybe make some money in their core business, not just on Bitcoin holdings and carbon credits. But hey, Tesla number 2, 1.6 million. And then number 1, the big dog, it's NVIDIA. Not looking super spicy today, but respectable, 3.07 million. Let's see, NVIDIA right now, 115.83, off nearly $10, 909, 7.25%. This has been another rough one. You don't need me to break it down for you. But I will say this, listeners. A month ago, people were saying, man, we got down to about 116 2/3 in February. That was kind of the bounce point for NVIDIA, back all the way up to 140. And then right back down again. We are below that level now. So for the month, we are actually down almost $1 now. So NVIDIA getting it all back and then giving it all back up again out here. So NVIDIA very much, it was the tip of the spear going up. Is it the tip of the spear going back down? I don't know. It's feeling the heat right now, listeners. Number 1, NVIDIA, 3.07 million. If you want to wash your hands of all that craziness, to sink your teeth into some fun micro trading out there, listeners, well, we got some earnings for you on the tape. We have a Target tomorrow, Best Buy tomorrow, Nordstrom's, Dan's favorite fashion outlet, Ross stores on Tuesday. Wednesday, we got Abercrombie, we got Foot Locker, we got Victoria's Secret, Dan's other favorite fashion outlet. Thursday, we got Cracker Barrel, Kroger, BJ's, and Macy's, Costco, Gap, and Burlington. So a lot of retail on the docket this week, listeners. Luckily for you folks, because we like you, we got hot off the presses from our friends over there at ORAT's updated earnings move results, and earnings season reports. Let's hit a couple right now really quickly. Best Buy. They were at $89.91 when we ran this report this morning. They were pricing in, get this, $7.01 to be precise, in their at-the-money straddle. In the past, they've only moved $5.14. So nearly $2, $1.87 worth of extra juice this cycle for Best Buy. Is that worth it? Interesting. A little bit juicy for Best Buy, but they've been obviously reading the tea leaves. Lately, more juice is the winner when it comes to earnings. Target, let's see what they have on the dock. By the way, Best Buy, fourth before the bell. Target also the fourth before the bell. 124.25 is where they were when we ran this report. They were pricing in $10.10. They're going the other way, listeners. In the past, they've moved about $13.25, so shaving off over $3. That's kind of surprising given how much we've seen in terms of long premium being the winner out there. Let's get out of here with Foot Locker, fifth before the bell, 17 in the third. They're pricing in $2.60. In the past, they've moved $2.94. So a little bit less juice, I should say, in Foot Locker as well. Let's do one more really quick. Let's go out to Costco on the 6th after the bell. 1,048.61 is where the stock was. They were pricing in, get this, $42.38. In the past, they've moved $26.37. My goodness. So pretty much exactly $16 extra juice, $16.01 worth of extra juice. Wow. Is that merited? Is Costco looking spicy right now? Somebody clearly thinks so. My goodness, that's a lot of juice. But then maybe someone who bought that straddle looked at this result, listeners, because the season's still hanging out at a blistering 119% right now. That's still above our long-term average of 117%. So right now, the winners are buy and vol, even though right now this is one of the weaker weeks we've had at only, I say only in air quotes, 101%. We are still outperforming. But yeah, wow, that's interesting stuff afoot here. We've been waiting for the worm to turn for a while. So far, it has not, listeners. But you know what's always fun nonetheless? It's the odd block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, listeners, let's do it. Let's get spicy. Let's kick things off in a name. I don't know. I think we've talked about this, but it's been quite some time. I can't remember the last time we've talked about it. This is McCormick and Company. You know them. They make all those spices you go buy in the spice aisle in your grocery store. Ticker symbol MKC, trading $84.16. Looking kind of spicy today, up about $1.50 or nearly 2%, about 1.8%. So a good day in Spice Land. On the year, it's also, let's see, it's also been a good year. It was $68.90 a year ago, so they're up almost $16 or about 23%. So a nice little run. I will say they got up to this level before, 84.5 back in September of last year. And then they gave it all up. They sold off to kick off the year. January 10th, they got down to 71.39. So they have clawed their way all the way back about almost exactly $13 since then. So it's been a good couple of months here for Spiceland. Looks like we got some firms buying more shares of it here. Oh, Kramer also talked it up. Well, there you go. Either way, it's getting spicy out there today. What do we have? What did our Eye of Sauron spot out here? Looks like the March 85s. Remember I said the stock 84.06 right now. Somebody said March 85s this morning. The stock right about exactly here. How are they? They got $1.15 at $1.25. They said, I will pay $1.25, good sir. 2,500 times. It's not the spiciest vol we've seen. It's about a 22 vol, so nothing terrible, all things considered. The stock 84.09. I will say this. It looks like, let me just dig up when expiration is for this month. Yeah, they are going to miss it. Expiration is on the 21st, and these expire on the 25th. So they're not getting that earnings juice. So that might impact your decision on whether you like this trade or not. But Mr. Dan, if I were to ask you right now, are you feeling spicy Are you liking these March 85s in McCormick? What would you say, sir, for $1.25?
Man, to be a buyer of?
To do whatever you want with, sir. To put in your back pocket for a rainy day. Whatever you like. Whatever you do with your options.
I don't know, man. Here, let me look at the volatility of that. MKC, yeah.
That would be the
85, the regular March 85 calls.
Regular March 85 calls for $1.25. It is a 22 volatility.
That's a 22 volatility. So this is kind of interesting because that's below historical. The ATR has been just moving up. The daily ATR. Looking at the weekly one, it's a little bit steadier, to tell you the truth. I mean, we still have we're kind of at resistance, really. This not being a stock that I watch all that much, I'd probably want to do a little bit more research. But, I mean, geez Louise, if you want to play it bullish to the upside, I mean, that call is a steal from a volatility standpoint.
The fun of the odd block, sir, is it's almost never names that we watch.
Yeah,
that's the fun. Right. They're just throwing names at us to see what we think. From a vol perspective, I was kind of surprised at how low that was as well. So overall vol, and the thing I don't like, listeners, is you're not getting that little bit of earnings juice in there. If this extended, if earnings were, let's say, the 17th, and you got it in that $1.25, then yeah, I'd say it's a no-brainer. If you want to go for some upside, go for it. But you're getting it week before. I don't like it as much for that. You might be worth paying a little more just to get the extra bit of juice if you are so inclined. But maybe you love yourself some, also not the longest duration, obviously. March, not that long to go here. So I don't love it for those two factors, but at the end of the day, it's not the worst we've seen by any means. Let's go out. If you want to get even spicier, I see what our chats do. I see what you're doing there, Mr. Option God. Getting punny on me. Got a lot of punsters in our chat. Neogenomics Inc. This is a high-complexity CLIA certified clinical lab and pharma services and information services company that specializes in cancer genetics diagnostic testing. Say all that 5 times fast, listeners. Ticker symbol NEO, 978, off about a quarter today. So let's get spicy in the world of biotech, shall we? A year ago, his name was 1607. So it's been a rough year for NEO. They're off about 40%, or about 6 1/3. They got up to... Kicking off the year, they had a nice print all the way up to 1912. So it was kind of a treading water year, and they actually trended up right to start the year, 1912. And then they fell out of bed almost immediately, as biotechs are wont to do. They sold off to 1263 so that was January 8th, they hit 1912. January 13th, a mere 5 days later, they were down at 1263. Then they tried to fight their way back up to about 14.5 on Valentine's Day. And ever since Valentine's Day, there has been no love for this name. It's been cut almost in half again, down to 978. So, my goodness. No love for this, except for right now, Mr. Dan. Somebody's feeling the love out here right now. They came out this morning and said April 11s. Again, we're at about 975 right now, listeners. They said April 11s, how are they? They got 30 cents at 45 cents. They said, you know what? I like these bad boys. I like the cut of their jib. I will pay 45 cents 1,100 times this morning. This is a little spicier. This is about a 61 vol, which again, it is a biotech, so you got to kind of expect that. The stock was at 986, so slightly higher than it is right now, but not a material difference. This is another one where you're not getting earnings. Earnings are slightly outside the domain of this trade. Earnings like expirations on the 18th in April. These calls go out. The expirations on the 18th. Expirations on the 18th, and the earnings are on the 29th here. So, yeah, you're missing it here as well in good old NEO. I don't know, Mr. Dan, do these calls float your boat more, or would you say less than the McCormick calls? These are the NEO April 11s for 45 cents.
I just bought the Straddle in McCormick. Tell you the truth.
I knew it. That's why this show is awesome and also dangerous. because it talks you into a lot of good stuff. Whenever I have the rock lobster, I was always like, man, I just traded a bunch of that stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of that. See, was it March or did you go out longer?
No, I did the March. Why not?
You're becoming quite the straddle guy these days. You don't have to change your name, sir, to Dan the straddle guy Passarelli. My goodness. You and Overby, you're fighting for that title. You're both doing more straddles than I can ever remember you talking about in all the years I've talked to you previously, all in the last, let's say, year or so. So, wow. So give our listeners the strikes again, just to clarify.
In McCormick, it was the regular, well, there is only regular March, 85 straddle.
Dang. What was the price, sir?
I got it at 340.
There you go. So you're looking for a little bit of spice over the next month, listeners. You like that, listeners? You down for straddles? You know, it's funny. We used to poo-poo long straddles. And now it seems like every other trade out of your mouth these days is a long straddle, sir. So interesting. You listeners, you feeling spicy? You're not getting the earnings in it. But on the flip side, maybe you'll get some. Well, no, you're not going to get the delayed decay. Maybe some. But it's an interesting one. That's certainly interesting. Is it spicy or maybe too spicy for you folks, listeners? Hit us up. Let us know. And then, Dan, are you also thinking about buying a straddle in Neo, sir? You going to roll them bones?
Well, I'm looking at it, but I'll tell you what, man, biotech stocks are really freaking hard to trade because, you know, there's so much nuance to like the dates of, you know, drug trials, if that's even what they do. I mean, I don't really know this company much, but I mean, I'm looking at the straddle. They got their price target lowered a few times over the last couple weeks. I mean, I looked at the straddle here by that April 10 straddle at what, about $1.60 or so. Is that a reasonable range? I mean, $1.60 to the downside. I don't know about $1.60 to the downside. Well, yeah, I guess I do know about $1.60 to the downside. We've been lower than that over the past 3 years anyway. To the upside seems kind of like a no-brainer. This is a hard one, Mark. Why are you doing this to me? But I mean, if you buy the straddle, we were $1.60 higher 6 sessions ago, maybe 4 sessions ago. Geez, that's an interesting one too, man. Oh gosh. Yeah, maybe I need a straddle in this one.
You're straddle crazy now. My goodness. By the way, you must be happy. I'm looking at McCormick straddle. Folks are following our lead here. That 85 straddle is offered at 370 now, Dan. So yeah, in the mid-market, so it's 3 bid at 370, listeners. 335 mid-market. So if you wanted to go load up on that straddle, it's looking a little bit juicier now. So not quite as cheap as it was when we started the show here, listeners. So intriguing stuff already out here in Spice Land. Speaking of spicy, you know you're in for some spice when it's Monday because it's time for the strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the strategy block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the strategy block, the portion of the show where Uncle Mike holds court for 10 minutes on the glory that is the long straddle. Have at it, sir. The floor is yours.
You know what? I think everyone just needs to buy a straddle today.
That might be the thing. I'm looking at McCormick as we're talking, but go ahead, sir.
I mean, it makes me kind of feel like my early days working at Options Express when I would go to those optionetics seminars as the broker, and they'd always talk about a straddle. You can make money if the market goes up or goes down. How can you lose? So, yeah, getting some memories today with that. But what I do want to talk about today, it is IRA season, and just trying to take a step back from things in that the best tax strategy is to pay absolutely no tax at all. There's no one that can deny that. And so with a Roth IRA, that's something that I think everyone needs to take a look at least to determine if it fits into your overall financial plan. But an objection that I oftentimes get from the show or from just talking to people in general is, well, I make too much money to contribute to a Roth IRA. And that may be true because of the fact that if your income is above, if you're single and it's above $146,000 in 2024, and if you're a married filing joint, if your income is above $230,000, then you're absolutely right. You do not qualify for such a thing. However, what you may qualify for is something called a backdoor Roth IRA. Now, yes, this is an actual thing. This isn't some weird type of bootleg thing that I came up with. You can even go to the IRS website and Google search and then search it, and that is the term that they use. And the way with which it works is that let's assume that you have $0 in a traditional IRA right now. However, you can have as much money in a 401k as you want, because I've had clients that have had a lot of money in a 401k and $0 in an IRA. And the way with which we've been able to do this is that you still qualify to put money into a traditional IRA, even if you make a lot of money. Now, if you're taking the deduction for your 401k contributions, then you still qualify for the IRA, the traditional IRA. However, you won't get a deduction on the traditional IRA. But here's where the backdoor Roth comes into play. What you can do if you have $0 in a traditional IRA, you can contribute to a traditional IRA. It'll be non-deductible, assuming that you're putting money into a 401k at work. And with it being non-deductible, what you can then do is immediately convert the money in the traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, and you have the same effect as if you contributed to a Roth IRA right away. Once again, that's called a backdoor Roth IRA. Now, if you have a lot of money in a traditional IRA, what I just described will not work. And it can kind of work, and there's percentages that you could work on it, but ultimately it will not work as easily as I just described it. It could be something to consider, but it will not work, as I said. So if you are in a position to where you don't have any money in a traditional IRA and you want to put money into a Roth IRA, but you're concerned that you make too much money, perhaps a backdoor Roth IRA is something with which to consider. And that is the strategy block, first one of March. And we are in not only mud season due to the weather here in the Chicago area, we're also in IRA season. Let's take advantage of every tax dollar we can.
Ah, yes, the sexiest of seasons, IRA season, listeners. As we keep going, it is time to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to Around the Block, the portion of the show where we tell you what we're keeping an eye on until the Thursday show. We'll be joined by the Flow Master out there. And the market continuing, the worm continuing to turn out here, off about 0.92% in the S&P right now. NASDAQ off about 1.4%. Dow off about 0.9% as well. VIX cash hanging out about 21.5 right now. So looking slightly more bearish than it was at the beginning of the show out here. And speaking of what we're keeping an eye on, let's see what you folks have on the brain. Our question of the week right now. By the way, our flash poll, you folks still can't make up your mind on that Carnival spread for 52 cents, Dan. Still about a third want to buy it, a third want to sell it, and a third can't make up their mind at all. So our folks are pretty evenly split on that one. What you're not split on is our question of the week. We're saying right now, we're seeing a little spice in this market. Do you think this has legs, or is it just a dust up? Quite simply, where do you think VIX will go out at the end of the month, at the end of March? Will it be spicy, so north of 20, a little bit more mild below 20, or this is all just too spicy for you? You're going to cash. Mr. Dan, what are your thoughts on our poll? And then B, where do you think our audience is going? Are they too north of 20, below 20, or are they heading to cash? And then C, what are you keeping an eye on until for the rest of the week, sir?
I'm going to say that our audience is saying north of 20, definitely. I'm keeping an eye on a number of things. One of the main things that I'm doing, I actually did a post on I think I mentioned my new Substack, Wealth Building with Options at Substack.com, or Wealth Building with Options.substack.com. And so like this, it's becoming a really interesting, and this sounds like it doesn't make any sense, but with this volatility, it's becoming pretty interesting trading covered calls and cash secured puts, because you can get, I mean, you can have them go against you badly, but you can grab some like prices that you otherwise wouldn't get by putting in some of these, resting limit orders. I call them wish trades in this context. And, you end up getting filled on them, and you get like just really, really great prices. It's not without its risk, but so I'm looking at things like Match, MATCH, Bluebird. I think there's right now I had puts assigned and I rolled into a covered call, but I think that there's still some pretty good potential with puts on Bluebird. What else am I looking at? And honestly, I'm sitting on some cash, and I've just been selling spider puts. I love selling this high volatility. I love selling the dip. I hope I get assigned. If I don't, that's cool too, especially if we stay down here, because when they expire, I'll just roll out another couple weeks. That's where I live on all this.
Are you surprised that our audience can't make up their mind on your Carnival verticals, sir? They are about as evenly split as I've ever seen them in a while. So they cannot make up their mind on that, which is kind of fascinating. Mr. Uncle Mike, same question for you, sir. A, what are you keeping an eye on for the rest of the week until the Thursday show? And B, where are you falling on where VIX will close at the end of March? Above 20, below 20, and where do you think our audience is going? Is it too much for them? Are they going to cash, sir?
I think it's going to, I'll say below 20 on the VIX for both myself and the audience, but we'll see what they have to say. And then in terms of what I'm watching, definitely wanted to see at the end of the day if we can hold this 5,900 level. I think we're exactly where we were at the beginning of the show today, Mark. So no matter how much you talked down the market, it was resilient and it handled the Mark Longo bearishness. So keeping an eye on that, and then also keeping an eye on bonds. They're sneaking up a little bit. So combining that with the fact that mortgage rates might be coming down a little bit, that could be a spark for things to give us another leg higher, not only in the housing market, but also in the stock market. We shall soon see.
Unfortunately, that music means we won't see on this show, listener. That's going to do it for us. If you want a little more in your lives, though, stay tuned. I'll be joined by Mike's hetero life partner over there at Adaptive, a.k.a. Mr. Bill Ulivari, joining me in a little bit on the old crypto rundown. Should be a fun time. Speaking of fun times, Mr. Dan are just ticked. Our audience now, about half of them want to sell your credit spread. So there you go, Mr. Dan. They're getting on board with you. And then about a quarter each want to buy it, or they're just too spooked by it. So what are your thoughts on that? And then B, if folks want to check out your Substack or anything else you got cooking, where should they go? What should they do?
Yeah, well, since we're talking Substack today, just go to wealthbuildingwithoptions.substack.com, or just go to Substack and search Wealth Building with Options, or me, Dan Passarelli. And I know, sorry, it's a long title, but they're all easy words. There's no spaces. Wealth Building with Options. And we post credit spreads ideas like this. It's mainly focused on covered calls and cash secured puts, but we do talk credit spreads. I post all my wheel adjustments a couple times a week, which I'm about to write up a post on that as soon as we're off this call. So yeah, please find me there.
Find them over there on Substack. You can also go to the OG, what the cool kids call over there at Market Taker Mentor. Don't forget the second T for Theta. By the way, I should reveal the results of our poll. Right now, about 54% of you think you're going to be below 20 here at the end of the month for VIX. 38% or so say above 20, and nearly 8% say you're going to cash. It's too spicy for you out there right now. So kind of interesting. And Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, if folks want more Uncle Mike goodness in their lives, where should they go? What should they do?
A couple places. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike Tosaw, Tosaw. Or if you'd like to have a conversation with me, check out my website, stcharleswealth.com. Book an appointment with me. Always happy to have a conversation with anybody in our audience.
And Mr. Uncle Mike, you'll be happy to see our chat. Mr. OG and the Queen herself are both liking what you said about backdoor IRAs. They are considering them now. So there you go, sir. Luring our chat to the dark side, one person at a time.
I mean, what's more exciting than IRA season? I mean, it's Straddles and IRAs. What other show on the internet does that?
Long straddles and backdoor IRAs, baby. There we go. I think we have a show title. Unfortunately, that is going to do it for us on the show today. Back again in a little bit. So if you're hanging out in the live, stay put. We'll be back in a bit with Mr. Bill to talk crypto. Back again tomorrow. Remember, if you're not hanging out in the pro, man, you are missing out. Not just the giveaways, but all the fun. We've got all sorts of fun joining us here in the pro, including, let's see, who is joining us tomorrow in the pro? Oh, we got our old buddy, Mr. Scott Nations, now spinning up his own data service out there. So he'll be joining us to tackle all your vol questions. That's going to be a popular one. So get those questions in now by the members hotline if you haven't done so already. Wednesday, of course, I'll be back with the black-hatted one to talk some OBC. A little birdie telling me we might be doing a doubleheader on Wednesday because I will be traveling the next week. So doubleheader of OBC on Wednesday, followed by the futures rundown. So a triple header coming at you on Wednesday. Thursday, of course, we're back again with the Flow Master to talk some more OB. So we'll see you then. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.